What are your financial resolutions for 2025? On today's episode, we're going to put your mind at ease on that topic. Hello and welcome to Headlines in Fine Print with Dion Williams, brought to you by Piedmont Advantage Credit Union. Now, on today's episode, we're going to jump into financial resolutions, but it's not what you're thinking. We're not going to get into a top 10 list or anything like that. But before we do that, I just want to remind you that we archive our shows on YouTube and Spotify, so if you're so inclined, please like, follow, and share as you see fit. So let's set the stage for today's topic about financial resolutions. Now, I think back to when my kids were younger. We were members at the YMCA. My wife and I thought it was a good idea to get them into swim lessons, not to compete in swimming, but just as the life skill of learning how to swim effectively. And I always marveled because the way I liked to spend time when I was there waiting on them to finish was to get on the treadmill and walk or run. But every January, it was a dreaded time because all of these folks had these New Year's resolutions about getting into shape. So there was a massive increase in membership, and it was very hard to find any available equipment at the Y to exercise. Now, kind of good news, bad news here. In February, you saw those machines were empty and it kind of returned to normal levels, which means that enthusiasm in January for those resolutions about exercise had kind of dropped off after that first month. Now, if I were doing a show just on 2024 financial resolutions, it would sound an awful lot like the last show we did in 2024. And you know the drill. Pay yourself first, participate in your employer's retirement plan, pay off debt, etc., and so on. So we're going to take a different approach to that today. Now, I'm also a certified financial planner, and in that profession, we have a 7-step process for client engagement. I'm not going to go through all the 7 steps or anything like that, but just the first step is reviewing the situation, and that's kind of assessing where are you at today. And then steps 6 and 7 would be implementing the plan and monitoring the plan, just meaning that it's an ongoing process. There's not really an end point to it. There's always new things that come up, changes, so you need to monitor the performance of the plan and move forward in a way that keeps you on the right track to attaining your goals. Now that we've set the stage for today's show, let me begin with January 1st is a moment in time, but it's not the only option. So think about riding a bike. If you fall off the bike, you get back on it and you start pedaling again. You don't have to wait till the next week, the next day, the next month, the next year. You don't have to do that to get back on the bike. And it's the same thing with your financial resolutions. It's okay if it doesn't go according to plan right out of the gate, but don't give up. Persevere and stick with it. Day one can be any time this year. Day one can be the next day or just moving on past whatever didn't go according to plan. Because in past episodes, we talked about Murphy's Law and things kind of can and do happen. It's life, but just be prepared for things to happen and you just persevere and move on to the next opportunity to get things the way that you want them to be. I kind of think of it like the movie Groundhog Day. In that movie, it kept restarting the same day over and over and over. And this can be the same thing for your financial resolutions. If day one, something misfires, start again on day 2, go again on day 3, but keep going again until you get things moving in the direction that you desire. And ultimately, you'll build the habits and you'll realize success. And I'm just here to tell you that at the credit union, we have certified credit counselors, we have wealth management services, we have an abundance of resources that if you need help on day one or you run into obstacles at some day along in this process, we have folks here that are well qualified to coach you and work with you on your journey. The next point is I want to encourage you to focus on habits rather than external factors. As an individual, you have zero impact on inflation, interest rates, stock market performance. These are external factors that are larger than all of us. But what you do have control in, or what you have control over, is your habits. Now, I will be the first to tell you that asset allocation matters greatly when it comes to saving for retirement plans or other goals. You should have assets properly diversified and review those for performance periodically. But what I'm not necessarily a fan of is trying to time the market. All too often when you try to time the market, you start investing too late or you sell too late, and it's just hard to get in at the right time and get out at the right time. And that's why I'm a tremendous advocate for the long-term, slow and steady wins the race, buy and hold type strategy when it comes to investing. So no matter what happens with interest rates or the market or even the world around us, if you're consistently saving and practicing the habit of setting aside money, whether it's your emergency fund, your retirement, your fund for college education for your kids, just building that habit and doing it, I promise you there's going to be ups and downs. It's going to be like a roller coaster at times. But through the years, you're going to be rewarded for the habit of consistently saving money. So again, that's why I don't want you to be distracted by, well, I don't want to start in January. Interest rates are still too high, or the stock market had a bad month in December or something. No. Don't worry about that. Where I want you to focus on is the habit of saving money and setting money aside for the future. That's what you can control and what you can do very well. Now that brings us to the next question of how do I form the habit? Now I want to use a sports analogy again. If you watch football or a fan of football, imagine a team that's down by 10 points. There's not a 10-point play in football. So to come back from 10 points down in football, you have to have a touchdown, make the extra point, and then a field goal, which is 3 points. And so it's really three different things that has to happen to get those 10 points back. And that's where I'm talking about habits. There's not a single action you can do, and we'll leave lottery out of this, that automatically puts you where you want to be financially. Now, in terms of forming the habit, the biggest objection that comes up is, well, I'm living paycheck to paycheck, so it's very difficult to redirect my money right now because everything I have is already going to the place it needs to go. And I totally understand that and appreciate that. So now that we're in the first quarter of the year, let me give you a couple of ideas to think about that might jumpstart forming that habit. So one is the income tax refund. A lot of folks do receive refunds on either their state or federal taxes. So that can be a quote-unquote windfall of money. I know it's different than winning the lottery, but it can be money that you weren't necessarily expecting. And so when that money comes in, maybe that's what you use to jumpstart paying off debt. Maybe it's just paying off some expenses that came up over the holidays, or to jumpstart savings, to fund your emergency fund, to replenish your emergency fund, but just a one-time jolt of cash that gives you an opportunity to direct that towards your own financial goals. So again, the income tax refund is an opportunity where you can redirect money in a way that's according to your wishes and it's not being dictated by something else. The second one, I know a lot of employers do their merit cycles at the start of the year, especially if you're on a calendar year, fiscal year scenario. You kind of do that early in the year when your budget's in place for the new year. So let's say that you're getting a pay increase of 3%, and currently you're not participating in your company's retirement plan. That could be a perfect time to direct that whole 3% or a portion of that 3% into your retirement plan and jumpstart your participation in the plan. Or if you're already participating in the plan, this can be a great opportunity for you to increase what you're contributing to the plan and within the allowable overall limits for the year. But again, that's just an opportunity of when you didn't have that 3% when the year started. Now that that's coming into your check, what you can do with that gives you an opportunity to set the stage for you to do things in a different way. And it doesn't have to be your retirement plan at work. It can be to jumpstart savings for your emergency fund or for another long-term goal. Or it can be an additional amount you add to a minimum payment on a credit card or personal loan that you've been trying to pay off, and that helps you get ahead where you can pay it off more quickly. So closing thoughts for this episode. Again, this was not an episode on a top 10 list for financial resolutions you should make for the new year. What I wanted to do was to approach this more from the psychological standpoint. It's so important to form habits and to understand that you're going to have things happen along the way. I'll give you an example from my life over the holidays. Thought things are going pretty well, and then a garage door quit working. $200 for a repair to that, wasn't expected. And just life happens all the time. If you have a car, it could be tires or wipers or some type of service that's required. If you're a homeowner, it could be your heating, your AC, a garage door, a water heater. There's just so many things that come up. But when those things happen, don't be discouraged. That's part of the journey. So again, just want to encourage you to form the habits, and when you fall off the bike, so to speak, hop back on and keep pedaling. Do so with more determination than ever. If you're not going in the right direction you want to by February 1st, that's not the end of your story for you for this year. You can start again February 1st, February 2nd, February 3rd. Just continue going and understand your credit union is here as a resource to help you along the way. I'd like to thank you again for listening to today's episode of Headlines in Fine Print with Dion Williams. Again, we invite you to like, follow, and share our show on YouTube and Spotify, and we do archive past episodes. If something from this episode resonated with you and you want to check out other topics that we've covered, we look forward to bringing you 2 episodes a month in 2025, and I hope this year is a fantastic year for you and your family. You can reach me at dion.williams@pacu.com, or my phone number is 336-750-7088. If you have any questions about content from today's episode, or if you want to recommend or suggest a topic for a future episode, we love responding to ideas and feedback from listeners for future topics. Thank you again for listening, and have a wonderful day.